Well, good Taco Tuesday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. You know, we are in that time of the year right now where we've had a taste. We've seen some teams go through and have their OTAs, have their mini camps. We've gotten a little bit of a tease here. You know, you can start wetting your whistle. You start looking at the clock and it says 79 days, 12 hours, 1 minute and 30 seconds away from kickoff. We know training camps will be opening up. Rookies will be reported for some teams already in a month. Time is slipping into the 2023 season. But school's out for summer. We don't have a whole lot that's really going on. The teams are pretty much set. We hear that Dalvin Cook wants to play with DeAndre Hopkins. So I guess all of the wayward children are saying, let's get together and make a team. You know, let's find a home together. I think these guys are having a hard time finding that place. You know, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Going into last season, some of the top players in the NFL currently are unemployed. But be that as it may, I have to go ahead and give a shout out to my man, Rashid. I came down here this morning not knowing what I was going to talk about because it is that silly season. And he said, did you see NFL Total Access last night? It was all about Dak Prescott. And let me say, thank everybody who has donated to the cause of helping Rashid. You really have to save him. We are converting him into a Dallas Cowboys fan. I mean, this is like a Cowboys cult down here, okay? And he is literally drinking the Kool-Aid. He's like, already, there's a chink in the armor. He said, well, I'll root for him in the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, all right, we got to start. We got it started here. So we appreciate you. Reven S. as well as Alan Williams were both winners of autograph plaques, and we have the CSA show this weekend where we'll be there Sunday because, you know, we always have lots of Cowboys at the CSA show. So I want to listen to, because I haven't had a chance to actually hear about what they have to say about my quarterback, Dak Prescott. You know, all they do is trash my quarterback. They put him under the microscope where they don't to other players. You know, when I saw Pete Prisco's top 100 list, Dak Prescott's not in it. Josh Allen is number 2. Yeah. Be that as it may, let's listen to Total Access and see what they have to say about my quarterback, my teammate.
Fans everywhere are saying this about number 4.
It's really unfair.
Oh, no, they didn't start out with that.
Team.
That's my quarterback.
It's my quarterback. And if you guys do that, man, it's unfair.
It's not fair. Wow. No, they didn't start out with that.
Still one of my all-time favorite press conferences. And that's what we do here at NFL Network in the summer months. We send emails to each other about our favorite quotes. More on those press conferences coming up.
Because there's no football to talk about.
Of NFL Total Access, I'm Mike Am. Hope all the dads out there had a great Father's Day. And, of course, happy Juneteenth. Shortly joining me, Michael Robinson, Cam Wolf, and Jane Slater. But we start with the Dallas Cowboys, who concluded their mandatory minicamp last week. And as the players head home for the summer, Mike McCarthy has signed some summer reading as he installs his offense in preparation for calling plays for the first time since 2018. But keep in mind some of the numbers here as it pertains to his quarterback, Dak Prescott. 15 interceptions, despite missing 5 games last year. Those 15 picks tied for first in the league. Michael Robinson, Jane Slater, fresh off a surfboard. More on that in just a little bit. Join me now, Jane. Dak Prescott, what's he working on this offseason to make sure that he's reducing the amount of interceptions this upcoming season?
Well, communication's been a big buzzword around that building, Mike, and that's because if you talk to the wide receivers and you talk to Dak, they weren't always on the same page. We're also under this understanding that the Cowboys are redoing the playbook. Not complete overhaul, but we keep being told it's going to be more of a West Coast offense, which was interesting to me because I kept hearing people around the building talk about the speed. That's why you went out and got Brandon Cooks. So West Coast offense and speed don't necessarily go hand in hand. So then when I pressed Dak Prescott on that, he talked about how the quarterbacks themselves had renamed this the Texas Coast offense. In other words, it's got West Coast elements, but they think there's parts of this new playbook that maybe we haven't necessarily seen out there. So we're going to have to wait for training camp to get a real sense of what Mike McCarthy is calling. But I think in order to play down those interceptions, we've got to get them on the same page communication-wise. And the reason why I don't think anyone in that building is too overly concerned, Mike Robb, is if you look at his interception percentage last season, it was 3.8. The year before that, 1.7, and the numbers were very similar to that. So it's not like they think there's necessarily a pattern here, but there was an issue communicating with some of his wide receivers. And so CeeDee Lamb has really kind of stepped up into that number one role now. It took him a little bit to do that, and I think having a veteran wide receiver in there like Brandon Cooks should certainly help.
Jane, you're absolutely correct. And you talk about communication, you can see it all over the tape. Other than communication, you also need to be able to run the football. Now, they were top 10 last year. They ran the ball for about 135 yards, something along those lines. But this team needs to be in the 140, 145 yards per game rushing the football and moving the line of scrimmage and leaning on that offensive line. And then that allows Dak Prescott to be special Dak in special situations, so you limit the opportunity to have all of those communication issues that he had with CeeDee Lamb and some of the guys on the outside. But Jane, to your point, there was some communication issues, and of course, you know what real Mike Robb like to do. I like to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about on tape, on film, in live action, as you can see right here. Now, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, the communication was on whether the middle of the field is closed or not, right? CeeDee Lamb sees the middle of the field open, so he tries to take the middle of the field. Dak tries to lead him, but at the end of the day, the middle of the field was closed and the ball gets picked off. You see right here, another middle of the field read. These are basic reads between quarterbacks and wide receivers, as you can see right there, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb not being on the same page. But on those plays, one thing that you did not see was any other wide receiver stretching the defense on the outside. That's why I think when you bring a guy like Brandon Cooks in with all that speed, that's going to change this offense, not only in the run game and create some space for Tony Pollard and this offensive line to operate, but it's also going to clear up the reads for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, so those communication issues should go away to some degree.
Yeah, I think Dallas fans certainly hope some of those takeaways or giveaways, I should say, are not present. 32 since 2021 for Dak Prescott's tied for the 5th most in the NFL. Jane, always great to have you on the show with us. Get back on that surfboard. You, Baldy, at some point, social media, we'll make it happen down the road. You're on it. You're on it.
Interesting. Now, I have to agree with that. Shout out to Rashid for letting me know about Dak. Them talking about Dak Prescott. Surprise, surprise, on NFL Total Access. But that's the thing that people don't seem to understand is, you know, when you ended up having Noah Brown, I talk about Noah Brown in nauseum, and I talk about Michael Gallup. When you think about those two guys, where they were in separation, okay, we're talking about like 118 and 124, I think it was, somewhere around there. It wasn't in the top 100, let's put it this way, which means they are constantly covered. And if you know you can cover those guys one-on-one, you're going to be able to focus attention on the guy who's really good in CeeDee Lamb. There just wasn't a lot of great options there. And a lot of times what happens is, especially like when you can't get somebody deep, it shortens the field for the defenses to have to cover, which means there's more people in space. When you get a Brandon Cooks who can get out there deep, you have to be concerned about making sure that we keep the safety over the top. Not only that we have the cornerback who's in there, but you're going to have to worry about him. Now you got to worry about not only Brandon Cooks, also CeeDee Lamb. And if they're clearing things out, that's going to help the running game, because now you've got 2 to 4 guys that are worried about 2 guys deep. It's going to make it soft spots in there, which will be great for the tight ends. It'll be great for the screenplays. See, I always talked about an offense that was death by 1,000 cuts, because you need to be able to use the whole field. because when you do, that means I've got to cover everything. Too many times we could not use the whole field, and that's been one of the biggest problems for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm excited about this year. I know everybody thinks that, if it had been Dak Prescott had been a turnover machine every single year, like, say, Daniel Jones, then you would say this has been a pattern. This is more of the exception than the rule. And I think now that you've gotten an offensive line that's gotten a little older, a little more seasoned than Tyler Smith and Biotish and things like that, as you now are evolving the offense and making some changes where, changing the offense, sometimes it's good change for just change's sake, to give something different to the guys to get excited about, plays-wise, to give other things for other teams to think about. I think that this team is actually going to be playing really, really well. Offensively, I think that actually, I'll be honest with you, I think that this is going to be a very, very good team this year. Anything can happen because football, we all know that injuries are paramount to everything that goes on. But anyway, I've got to go actually do a job this morning and get back here and do some work on these cabinets so I can get back down on the red brick house. Again, it's silly season right now. All kinds of crazy stuff that'll be talked about, like Daniel Jones being like, a franchise quarterback and things like that. All kinds of madness. See, you see how I just kind of stick it to Rashid over there? Anyway, we will be catching you guys a little bit later. Peace.
Here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.